This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And you guys joining us now on Katz and Cosby, we have Rich Lowry with the National Review. And Rich, you wrote a blockbuster column essentially talking about the glorification of some of these people, including this United Healthcare CEO killer, this guy who today was screaming on the way into the courtroom for the extradition hearing. Talk about that and just the juxtaposition with Daniel Penny, who's getting death threats.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most loathsome things that's happened in recent American history, and I know there's a lot of competition there, a cold-blooded assassination, and people openly expressing sympathy for the assassination, for an act of murder, for an act of terrorism in our streets, because the target supposedly was the right target, an insurance executive. So this is truly disturbing. I hope it doesn't herald kind of an inflection point where we see more of these sort of acts and more sympathy from the left. But this needs to be called out and smashed.
Yeah, absolutely. Victoria Coates, who's with us.
Hey, Rich. Good to hear your voice. I just wanted to ask you, I mean, sharing an alma mater with this guy, what do you think he's being taught in our institutions of higher education? I mean, do you think this is sort of a bigger rot that's going on that also speaks to all the anti-Semitism, all the anti-Israel sentiment that we're hearing on campuses?
Yeah, there's definitely a larger rot there, right? Kind of anti-capitalist, anti-Western, anti-Israel. We saw in the pro-Hamas protests last spring, and he definitely fermented in that environment. We'll have to learn more about his thinking or so-called thinking before drawing concrete conclusions, but certainly there are lots of people on the left who found this act a sympathetic one, or at least said, this is bad, but, and when it comes to murder, there should never be a but, right? This CEO worked his way up from a working class background. His dad operated a grain elevator in Iowa, and he's supposedly the class enemy, where this kid, who had everything handed to him, lived a privileged existence, went to a fantastic prep school, and as you know, Victoria, a flawed but very impressive university, descends into this horror.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing, and I'm sure you saw this, Rich Lowry, like almost the epitome of it. Former Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz told Piers Morgan she, quote, felt joy over the assassin. This is a reporter, Washington Post reporter, and feels it's justice. And then you got this guy today juxtaposed. I was watching it when it happened live. Victoria and I were talking about it earlier. It was like, whoa. He comes out and he screams. He throws himself against the wall and then starts saying, I have a lived experience. To me, I took it as he's going to sort of look like he's like the martyr going up against the healthcare industry. And there's no heroism in what he's clearly doing. But it's frightening to me that that looks like where he is going, that it's taking this life of its own. And he wanted to shout out apparently in the courtroom, and his attorney told him to sit down and be quiet. But it sounds like he's going to try to be all over the place, parading like he's the hero, and there's nothing heroic about it.
Yeah, so he's going to be the folk hero in his own internal drama, and there's some people who are shamefully going to go along with it. And again, we need to learn more about him, but he sort of fits the type of these assassins. Lee Harvey Oswald, for instance, they're kind of they tend to be smarter than the average bear, but not as smart as they think, and they talk themselves into the idea that they're neglected or their ideas are neglected, and carrying out a high-profile act of murder is what will make them feel important. So it's really a disgraceful thing. And then also all the people fawning over him because there's a shirtless photo. So if you're an assassin and a murderer, if you do lots of crunches and lots of planks at the gym and get a six-pack, that's going to make people admire you. It's sickening.
Really sickening. Craig Eaton.
Rich, it's shameful that anyone can actually look at this guy and think anything good about him. But you know what? This is part and parcel of the anti-big corporation sentiment out there. And like Victoria was saying, in all these colleges, they're so woke and so left. They're teaching our children these ideas. They're instilling these ideas into these kids' heads. And they're coming out of college like this kid, not knowing what to do and thinking they can get away with anything. I mean, I think this guy, I can't see how he thinks he could get away with it.
Yeah, well, he won't, and hopefully when he spends his life behind bars, that'll send a message to other, perhaps similarly inclined people. But it's very worrisome because we've had major bouts of violence in American history within living memory, late 60s, early 70s, bombings and assassinations, and you don't want to go down that route again. And one way to avoid it is to have everyone of good faith universally condemn such acts, and that we've not met that standard here.
And you know what? And this is interesting, guys, because I was watching a bit of the hearing afterwards. They're claiming, he's going to claim, or at least that's what the attorney tried to present. It's his defense attorney, so their job is to throw anything out there, that money that you were talking about, Craig, it was $10,000 in cash, including $2,000 in foreign money, may have been planted.
Foreign money? What foreign money?
Yeah, $2,000.
That's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, foreign money on him. I don't know which country, but it said 2,000 foreign, John. And get this, the reason he had the mask on was because he's still concerned about COVID. So that's where he's going. That's what he's going to say. He just looks just like the guy.
Wow, that's so safe. That's so safe.
Someone planted the fake ID with the same name from the hospital. Just happened to plant it on him too, right?
You know, Rich, once we start prosecuting and putting people in prison, that will send a message to him and all of the other people out there that think they can do whatever they want
who's the prosecutor?
And get away from it.
You know what we're forgetting? Who's the prosecutor in this case? Alvin Bragg. No. It's Manhattan, guys.
But we got to send a message.
Rich, it's Richard Weinberg. Good to talk to you again. What about characterizing Daniel Penny, a hero Marine, as a good Samaritan, protecting the other people on the subway against a real imminent threat of violence and death? He's the villain. Talk about the switch.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who stood up and did the right thing, and a thing, to the rest of our shame, most of us probably wouldn't have done, right? We look at it, we stare at our shoes, we try not to make eye contact, we wonder when the next stop is going to happen. It can't happen soon enough, and we'll just leave. It's very rare for someone to stand up and do this. Now, it went tragically wrong that he didn't intend that. He didn't even know Neely was dead when he was being interviewed by the police. And, thank God he got off, but just that he was put through this nightmarish ordeal for a couple of years is going to be a deterrent to any similar situated person inclined to help us fellow New Yorkers in the future. And that's a terrible thing.
Rich, thank you for coming on. And, we always enjoy talking to you, and we're going to talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, everyone.